Welcome to week 2, session number 3. We only need today is a soft surface and a rolled up towel or a wedge or a yoga block of some sort to pop under your hips for some of the exercises. So let's get going. Much like session number 1 and session number 2, we're going to spend more time in each position today. And we're going to do it as a straight shot through rather than trying to do a few different rounds. Also, what we're going to try and do is try and find different positions. We're going to explore each of those positions as we go through, really, and have a play with that as we go. So let's get started. So we're going to start with our prone frog, much like we did last week, but a different variation. So I'm going to show you this one from the front and from the side. What we're going to try to do is actually try and get the inside of the knees onto the floor, and you may be able to see, if you just look to one side, that I've got the instep of my foot on the floor, and in that position I'm just going to try and push my hips back, come forward, and then push the hips back. As I'm doing that, I'm trying to drive the inside of my thigh, trying to drive the inside of my knee into the floor, trying to squeeze them into the floor. So I'll just pivot round. I'll show you that one from the side as well. So again, trying to get the inside edge of the knee, the instep of the foot onto the floor, and then from there, pushing back into that position and rocking forward. So to ease off, come forward. Now again, you can play about with this in different positions. With the forearms, start to identify kind of different positions, different places that you can go. Because what we're really trying to do is we're trying to develop strength and familiarity in new ranges. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do with this whole flexibility thing. So again, you can take it that you do holds, where you just hold that stretch position, or you can come into that rocks. I would say if you're comfortable with it, try and do a few more holds, or even a few micro pulses. So just those small movements, just that. Roll in and back out. Again, we're just going to do roughly 2 minutes per exercise. It's up to you if you want to spend a bit longer on each one, that's fine. Particularly the ones you feel effective. And again, still trying to squeeze, because we're coming up to the last 10 seconds or so, I want you to really squeeze those knees down into the floor. Finish just as tight as you possibly can. With that one, really drive down, drive down, drive down, and then relax. From there, you may need your wedge, you may need your rolled up towel. I like this one because it actually just helps you tilt the hips forward. We're going to come into that rocking butterfly stretch, So what I want you to do is come into your butterfly position, heels in as close to the hips as you can. Taking hold of the sides of your feet, allow your knees to drop to the floor, and just go into that gentle rock from side to side. And again, you can play about with that a little bit. There's not much you can do, but there is still some options. What you can do in that position is actually start to lean forward, hold that rock at either end of the range, and we'll just play around. That's good. So again, using that wedge just allows you to sit that little bit further forward. And again, what I'm trying to do in that position is trying to bring my belly button forward. So I'm not just trying to drop my head into that stretch. I'm not trying to curl up into a ball. I'm trying to bring my body forward. So again, just show you it again. So we're about halfway through. Same thing, so heels in close, taking holds of the sides of the feet, allowing the knees to drop down. Again, just play about with that position. Hold that out to the side and back in. Again, breathing steady. This one shouldn't be too bad at end of range. Now you'll notice I don't have a box or anything for the elevated pigeon pose, because we're actually going to do a slightly different stretch today. But if you prefer that elevated pigeon that we had in week 1, session 3, you can do that as your alternative. So find the ones that are most effective for you, play about with those positions. I find this quite relaxing. I find it easier for me to learn my knees to drop towards the floor. There we go, that's coming up on that 2 minutes. So we're going to come into that single leg rock back. So again, just like the others, I'll do one from the front and one from the side, just because my camera is set up this way. I'll show you from the side first. So, one foot planted, the other on the knee, and just from there, just try to keep hips back in that position. So we feel that stretch again down through the inside of the thigh. So much like the first stretch, the prone frog, what we're trying to do in this one, a little bit more difficult because it's a longer lever, is actually, while I'm doing this rock back, I'm trying to push my left foot down into the floor as hard as I can, playing in that position. Now again, you can incorporate some holds, so you can hold that one position, or you can actually have a little bit of a tinker, have a little bit of a play, explore those ends of range, see what's comfortable. Even things like untucking the toes on the far side. So if you can see, I'll do that again. I went from there before, that's about as far as my knees and hamstrings will allow me to go. From there, untuck the toes, just allows me to sink the hips a little bit lower into that stretch. Just gives me different positions to play with. We're coming up. Going to do, rather than do a full 2 minutes on each side, going to do 1.5 minutes per side. This is the first one, which I'm showing from the side. When I do my right leg, I'll show you that one from the front. And again, just play with those positions. And turn the hips a little bit into it, still driving that foot into the floor. Again, we had the standing variation last week, where we had feet at either end of the mat, and we rocked our hips from side to side. You can do that one again if you prefer. It is up to you. It is up to you. Find the ones that are most effective. You might find maybe you don't have the 20 minutes to go through this flexibility. That's fine. Be more time efficient. Use the one that does both hips at the same time. Good. Again, that rock back. Incorporate some holds. Play about with that body position. Try and explore those movements. Again, trying to get the body used to going into those positions. So again, we heard, I may be completely wrong on who it is, but was it Aristotle? That we are what we repeatedly do. He was talking about excellence, but that applies to flexibility, to strength. We will adjust to the things that we regularly do. Coming up on that 1.5 minutes, so we'll move on to the next one. So our next one is that 90-90 crush. That 90-90 crush. So remember, this one we try and create that 90 degrees box shape. Now I've got my right leg in front, so I'm going to try and drive my right knee into the floor in that position. While I'm doing that, I'm going to try and keep pressing that knee into the floor. Imagine that I've got something trapped underneath, and I'm going to try and hold it there. And then at the same time, I'm going to lift my left knee as much as I can. Now the further forward I lean into this, the harder it becomes. If I allow myself to lean back, it gives me a bit more range. That's about as far as I can get there. So allow the knee to come up, to follow, and then same thing. I'm going to try and keep my right knee in the air this time as I drop my left knee down, and then finish that move. So again, that's crushing my left knee down to the floor this time. Trying to lift right knee up, open up as much as I can. I'm trying to stay quite tall, trying to push that stretch a little bit. So that limits my motion there a little bit. So from there, comes across, right knee comes down, and left knee follows. As soon as one knee is in contact with the floor, or one shin is in contact with the floor, that's when you start trying to press that knee into the floor. So again, like I did with the other one, I'll show you that from another angle so that you can see what I mean by the lean forward. So again, I've created that 90 position. I'm pressing this knee into the floor. I've got this, imagine I'm trapping an imaginary ball or imaginary brick into the floor as I lift the opposite knee, and then from there, because again I'm trying to stay quite vertical, it makes it quite challenging as I turn. And again, now I'm trying to get my left knee to the floor and the right knee to follow. Not close behind it, but actually as slowly as possible, trying to create as much time between the two as possible, and really open the hips as much as I can. Again, that press down. Good, so again, that's around about that 2 minutes. We're going to come back to that straddle walkover. So the straddle walkover, again, you may need your block, your brick, your rolled up towel, just to allow you to tilt the hips forward. Now again, just like we did last week, we're going to use our breath to help us out, but our goal throughout this is to try and make that arc ever larger. So try and make that arc bigger and bigger. So starting off at one ankle, or one shin, or one knee, depends on how flexible you are. I'm just trying to walk that arc out as much as possible. Now I seem to do this in every single video. I'll leave my timer on the wall behind me. So I'm going to try and guesstimate, famous last words, I'm going to try and guesstimate around about 2 minutes. My time is way off, which it may be. Feel free to pause the video to add some extra time into it. Now as you do this, really try and actively pull forward through the groin, through the hips. So you're actually trying to drive your hips down into that kind of position that actually pulls your body forward. So again, not only are we trying to familiarize ourselves in different positions, in new positions, we are really trying to get comfortable in those new positions. We are trying to actually build strength in those new positions. Because flexibility without the accompanying strength is a risky strategy. If you think about yoga people think is a class of stretching. You'll find if you do a yoga class regularly, yoga class is a very good strength workout because you're actually getting into challenging positions, but then you're trying to hold those positions, or depending on the style of yoga, you may be flowing in and out of those positions, but you're regularly getting into those positions and back out, so actually using the musculature to try and build that strength. Now, this takes us to our last one. This is our replacement for our elevated pigeon pose. What we're going to look at is a wide mountain climber. Now I just want to show you this one from the side. Put that round again one last time. Now what we're going to try and do, step the foot forward. Keep those hands flat. We're just going to play with that position. So what I want you to try to do is try and drive the hips forward. Try and rock the knee out to the side. Now it shouldn't at any stage be painful on the knee. I want you to try and keep the foot flat as the knee comes out to the side. So we're driving a little bit of external rotation. But what we're really going to do is build on that strength in that new position. So what we're going to try and do is find that end range. So for me that's about there. And now what we're going to try and do in that end range position is actually try and pull my heel back So I'm actually trying to engage my hamstring as I pull my hips forward, trying to drive my heel back, and actually trying to get myself comfortable in that position. And relax. Again, you can hold the entire 2 minutes if you want, but because that's quite out of my end of range, I'm just going to do some small holds. So you might be able to see on the video, I'm not sure, but there's that real squeeze. I'm really trying to pull my heel back, really trying to almost scrape my sock off using the mat. And then I can really feel the interval runs that I've done the other day. And again, you can play about with this. So again, that's about my end range, but you may be more flexible. You may even be able to come down onto your elbows, or even if you can't come to your elbows, you may be able to reach your hands out in front, which drops your body, which increases that position. But again, try not to relax into it, try and get to that end range, and try and brace that new end range. So we're going to go into the second side. I'll show you that one from the front. Hopefully you'll be able to see the sideways movement of the knee. So again, I'm in that wide mountain climber position, a little bit more forward than I intended, but I'm going to try and drop that knee out to the side and try and keep that foot flat. Doesn't feel like I can get quite as far as I did the previous time, but from there I'm going to try and drive my heel back. Imagine I'm trying to pull my heel back as if I was trying to scrape something off my shoe. I say my shoe, I'm not wearing shoes. But if I'm trying to scrape something off the bottom of my foot, I'm actively trying to pull that foot backwards and then relax. Same thing again, but I pull back. So I'm actually trying to brace in that position. Now just because that's my end range, I said it on the other side, doesn't mean it has to be your end range. If you can come down lower into that, or you can stretch your hands out, you can go further, try and brace in that bottom position. Now again, equally, just because I'm down this far doesn't mean everybody will. You can come into that wide mountain climber position and still pull your heel back, engaging through the hamstring and through that posterior chain. You can still get a lot of benefit from pushing those positions, from bracing, from getting strong in those new positions towards the end of range. Good. Last couple of seconds on this one. And relax. Now, again, we are week 2. That is week 2 done, actually. Yeah, we are week 2. So if you guys have any questions, any queries, remember, make sure to get them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer all of them as quickly as I can. As well as guys, this is the end of week 2. On Wednesday of this week, so I should have checked out the date, but I'll put it in the description. What I want you to do is I want you to get a retest of your photos. Okay, so your 4 photos should have been your toe touch, your butterfly stretch, which I'll do seeing as I'm on the floor, and of course your back scratch stretch with thumb inside the hands, 1 over the top that way, and 1 over the top that way. And what I want you to do is compare those to your day 1 photos. See, is there any improvement yet? And if there is, get it up there. Get the photos up on the Team Pyramid page. Let us see what kind of improvement you've made so far. All right, this is Neil signing off.